Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Dandadan Season 2 on Netflix. And I know you're probably looking at me weird, like, why the fuck do you have Season 1's Blu-ray in your fucking thumbnail? Because I had finished Season 2, and I'm like, I wanna fucking collect these motherfuckers, so I got it physically. I'm like, yeah. So I'm waiting for Season 2. My only negative is that I now have to wait for Season 3. That's it. I love the world, love the characters. I love how it actually does the essence of what Fooly Cooley is, but in and of itself. It's kind of weird that we've seen them attempt to recreate Fooly Cooley with all these different kind of things on, like, Toonami and everything on that. And I don't blame them for that. But then I look at Dandadan, and it just hits on what being a teenager is, and kind of going through weird kind of crazy shit, and dealing with your trauma and shit. I mean, yes, we're talking about Okarun being fucking possessed by Turbo Granny and losing his testicles and shit, but I mean, he has to deal with that, deals with how he views himself, how others view him, Momo dealing with the same kind of shit as well. Gigi getting upgraded to dealing with this shit as we have to deal with his introduction with the evil eye and all that shit. And we get introduced with other characters as well. It's like, holy shit. So the main bulk and majority of this one, now it's just 12 episodes. And I pretty much waited for it to be kind of finished off so that way I could binge it, because normally I kind of work that kind of better way on anime, because yes, you could do it week to week, but sometimes it's a little bit better to understand where the entire story goes, even within a kind of core, so that way you are like, oh, okay, but you do also have theory crafting that you can do as well. Yeah, 12. So, we pretty much pick up where we left off. I mean, we still have a kind of cliffhanger ending at this one, but it's actually kind of a better kind of execution on it. No, it's about the same. Because it's a cliffhanger that's like, hey, we got some other shit that we got here. And it's like, alright, hold up. We'll see how this kind of goes. Hold on. That, yes. Okay, I'll definitely have to do that. So, we're pretty much trying to figure out what's kind of going on. Those weird, creepy motherfuckers were going for Momo in the onsen, and she's able to pretty much utilize her powers to kind of get out of there, and it's, like, blasted to shit. Those people are getting pretty much, like, chased by the cops and shit. They're like, those motherfuckers again, as she pretty much gets back to the house. However, we find out that those motherfuckers are also the ones renting Gigi's house, and are kind of running on him and trying to figure out what's kind of going on with him, why he left, and thinking if he went for another spirit medium or whatnot. Grilling Okarun like, oh yeah? What's his favorite sport kind of shit? I mean, like, soccer? As he, like, sees that kind of shit for the hole in the wall. But they pretty much get fucked up. Momo gets back there and does some great ass kind of fight scenes before everybody pretty much gets chucked into the back, and we learn that it is a Mongolian death worm that they're kind of fucking with. Because Momo had stopped off about a Suchinko, but only found like a desiccated snakeskin, and let's see. Yeah. But that ties in further because there's this whole kind of lore that there's this kind of snake thing underground that they gotta, like, sacrifice people to make sure that the volcano doesn't blow its top. And that leads to the whole Mongolian death worm kind of shit and what it's kind of been doing. Now, the Kitos pretty much get fucking eaten by this motherfucker, and it's like, oh shit. And they're, like, in the building, but we see that Momo's powers are going kind of nutty, and she's attempting to kill herself, and we see that Okarun's pretty much transforming and going after Gigi as well, and that the psychic powers that can kind of get linked up with Gigi, with the evil eye, is able to kind of like protect them from the Mongolian deathworms kind of thing that is pretty much trying to influence them to kill themselves. Kind of like what was going with Gigi's parents. So it's like, oh, fucking shit. But then Gigi pretty much gazes in the evil eye and sees this kind of child that was pretty much sacrificed to this, and all he wanted to do was play. And we see him going throughout this whole kind of thing as the Ketos were going through, and it really fucking sucks. Because all he wants to do is help these people, and wants to play with these kids, and we see that it keeps freaking out the people that are able to see the kid. And it's just like heartbreaking, and Gigi's like, I want to let you play. I want to play with you and help you. However, this kind of fucks some shit up because they pretty much get down to the lower level and see the tied up corpse, and this of course then leads Gigi to being possessed, and the evil eye's like, I want to annihilate all humanity and shit. And it's really kind of interesting because of course all his clothes get blasted off. His design is really kind of cool, with like his pale skin and what's kind of going on with the purple and everything, but he's just in his fucking boxers, and he starts utilizing this energy orb as a soccer ball, and I'm like, nice, fitting that in with the character. That's really kind of cool. And then also utilizing small houses to kind of like trap people, but he like starts going in on Momo, and this of course starts pissing off Okarun as he then tries to pretty much stop what's kind of going on here as they are still trying to deal with the Mongolian deathworm. It's really kind of fucked up. Let's see. So the deathworm has decided to pretty much kind of hide itself a little bit and start spraying poison, be like, I'm gonna do this shit, and of course fucking barfing up shit that's pretty much trapping people as well. But of course we see Okarun pretty much going in at Gigi, and just like, he's kind of getting beaten up, but he's able to lay some shit out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go all out. So he pretty much figures out, as he's pretty much linked up, that Momo is the only one that can pretty much successfully get out of here, and pretty much launches her out to pretty much get help, so that way they can both be rescued. We see that Turbo Granny is kind of pretty much locked in at the bottom, stuck in some shit, and Okarun pretty much goes down and gets stuck there as well, trying to help. Yeah. So we see that Momo pretty much decides to light the house on fire to pretty much get some people there to kind of like fuck this shit up, and then she starts figuring out that she needs to pretty much get the worm into the sunlight to pretty much kill it, because that's a thing that her and Gigi had seen what was going on as children. I like that kind of flashback scene that like she's like, oh yeah, if they come out in the sun, pretty much just kills their asses. We see her utilizing now, there was one thing where I was like, okay, there's probably more than one fire truck, because she takes one fire truck and like smashes some shit. And then there's another fire truck that was like right there, but I'm like, maybe there's more. And the Ketos get barfed up by the worm, and then we see that the Mongolian deathworm pretty much is killed. But this, of course, almost happens at the same time that we get the volcano popping off, but we find out that it's not linked to the fucking thing, and that it was kind of more linked to the geyser. So she pretty much takes the fucking deathworm, puts its ass on the geyser, and is using it to like pretty much try and keep the town from getting destroyed by the volcano, as we see the dude at the shrine talking about like the snakeskin, and just pretty much debunking the whole kind of shit and trying to like make sure that people understand this kind of stuff, while also trying to like be a boob tube kind of dude, with all of his stuff that he could do with like his meditation and standing on his head and shit. He is also the pupil of Momo's grandmother, so it's like, okay, this will be interesting. We see that Gigi is still in play, and that Okarun, she gets help pretty much from the Kappa and the mom, grandmother, as they kind of pop back in, and it takes, and the fucking possessed fucking body, the anatomy thing, and this was a hard-ass battle. I love the animation for this action as they're able to then just, like, lock Gigi in the dude, in the anatomy, model, and we're like, alright, cool, we'll deal with this. And then, of course, figuring out, like, they gotta help Okarun. However, it's filled up with lava, but they're able to kind of, like, bring it out. We see that the Kappa's son's pretty much been, like, utilizing the worm's corpse to kind of spray some shit. The Kitos have pretty much been arrested, except for the one that kind of escaped and is, like, this moloid fucking thing. It's like, we will get you, Momo, ISA. And it's like, alright, we'll see how that fucking goes. Okarun, she's able to, like, pull it out, and we find out that him and Turbo Granny were actually protected by the worms kind of shit, and Momo is just so thankful that Okarun's alive, and just seeing her kind of, like, hug him and everything was just really nice to see their kind of relationship kind of progress that route. So the next bit is pretty much dealing... Yeah. Dealing with, like, potentially exercising the evil eye from Gigi, but of course he doesn't want that. He wants to help the evil eye and kind of, like, make it better. They get this whole thing with this, like, exorcism where they got these, like, musicians trying to, like, distract the spirit and everything. But, and it's really kind of great because I love that it's kind of like a death metal kind of one. Their music is so good that it's able to, like, blast through the barrier between the living and the dead. And I love seeing our characters just headbanging, even Granny, and it's just fucking great. Let's see. We also do see that Gigi checks in on his parents, even though he's still pretty much kind of, like, linked up. We see that water... that temperature has an effect on what's kind of going on with Gigi. I.e., if he gets splashed with cold water, Evil Eye pretty much takes over. If Evil Eye is taken over, then he has to be splashed with warm water to get Gigi back in control. And we see that he pretty much is, like, destroying Momo's house and hurting Momo as well. And this really pisses off Okarun, but he knows that it's not Gigi's fault and that he's trying to do a good thing to help the Evil Eye. So he pretty much goes to... let's see. The Mantis Shrimp, going by Beanie Weenie, to try and get training. Turbo Granny then tries to help out as well, and I really like that she does, being like, listen, do you want to learn how to punch, or do you want to get stronger? Pretty much taking him and Ira to the school to deal with these kind of musicians, and pretty much I like that Turbo Granny turns it into, listen, you are like a two-step beat, whereas the Evil Eye is like a 4 or 5-step, and figuring out how many moves can be done within a beat. And of course, he gets into the point where he's able to do a 5-step beat by taking out these people, these spirits, because of them in... It's pretty much these posters of, like, famous musicians and how people have pretty much put their kind of anxiety onto it. It's like, holy shit. And the funny thing is, Turbo Granny's like, yeah, you dealt with that shit, and then accidentally unleashes those fuckers again as they're attempting to leave. And of course, we see that Gigi and Okarun are pretty much attempting to figure out how to help the ISAs because of everything that's gone on. And he has decided to pretty much, he fights the Evil Eye and pretty much lays down this kind of challenge. Like, listen, you fight me on Tuesdays, and to keep him from, like, attempting to kill humanity and all that, and going all out on it and pretty much getting into that kind of fighting spirit, so that way that Okarun is the target, and to try and keep that from going on, and kind of pretty much works out pretty well. We see that it then gives the underwear to Okarun as like a sign of this whole kind of thing, because it had fun, and that's how he was able to kind of figure it out. I'm like, good job, Okarun. That's a pretty ballsy bet, but we're seeing how this kind of works out. We then also see that everybody's trying to figure out how to help the ISAs. And let's see. Because the house is pretty much fucked up. We see that Momo pretty much gets a job at a maid cafe. And it's really kind of funny because Momo's friends then pretty much drag him there to make it awkward, and it's like interesting that he is now part of that kind of group. And you really wouldn't think that it would be, because we haven't really spent much time with them, because we've only had 12 episodes in the first season and now 12 episodes in the second season. But I like seeing him kind of brought up. It's like, oh, come on, come on. And she's pretty much doing this to get money to fix their house. However, we learn about these whole kind of like this, what is it? Yeah. You get the fighting there. Nanoskin. And it's really funny because Gigi's parents just kind of pop up after they use this nanoskin stuff that the mantis shrimp is pretty much brought with this one dude. They at first attacked the dude because they didn't know who the fuck he was, and he's kind of pissed off. And the mantis dude keeps kind of translating. It's like, yeah, just use this, utilize your imagination to make what it's kind of into. And of course, they rebuild the house, and that becomes important later on because of what kind of deals with like a whole kind of kaiju thing going on. And then we get introduced to this Kinta dude, who wants to know how Okarun can pretty much talk spicy to girls and everything. The 10-gallon wiener thing is fucking nuts. I also love the cursing and insults, especially with like Ira and Momo just fucking going at each other. And I also like the evolution of Okarun and Momo's relationship. It doesn't go completely 100% at the point, but we see them kind of holding hands and like getting closer together in that kind of small teenage kind of way that's awesome to see. It's not completely fixated on jumping completely into it, but doing a nice kind of payoff without being like, oh god, it's going to take me 400 fucking episodes for them to get to a certain kind of point. We're getting progression. Let's see. Yeah, alright. So this Kinta dude is pretty much kind of like Okarun. He's kind of more of a kind of shut-in, kind of otaku kind of dude, really into Gunpla. And he was kind of like bullied for it. And he's trying to figure out what's kind of going on here. However, Momo pops up and be like, listen, we found your other nut. And we get into this interesting situation where this one girl steps up for him, who's actually the class rep. And it's like, stop kind of fucking with him if you're fucking with him. And Okarun's like, whoa, hey, thank you for stepping up for me. And it's interesting to see like that kind of shift where not a lot of people would kind of do that before. But it's like, hey, people are actually trying to help his ass out. Of course, this further goes into the holy effect that Kinta believes that Okarun is like really popular with the girls. But they go to this kind of housing complex because it was like brought up by Momo's friends, and we see the kind of nut, and it's like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? First, it's an invisible kind of thing as they're kind of chasing her around. Of course, Kinta followed them and is kind of in trouble as well, but we find out that it's some kind of kaiju space monster that can turn itself invisible. But it helped that they had 3 different perspectives, because if it was mainly from one kind of perspective, it could use that camouflaging really effectively. But since it's trying to figure out the which one to kind of go for, that's where it kind of like falls apart. But of course, the thing starts increasing in size, and we get they get run into Ira and Gigi. And it's really kind of funny with Gigi, because we do get him into a kind of bit where he gets this kind of milk, and the evil eye gets popped out, but he doesn't go complete kind of crazy and like starts trying to murder everyone, but he's kind of a little bit more subdued. We see that he does get brought up, and Okarun's like, it's not Tuesday, it's not our fight day, and actually steps back from actually attempting to try and like change their kind of agreement, because bringing him into this kind of conflict with the kaiju could have been a little bit gnarly if it went like even kind of further, because he might have just like kind of went a little bit nuts. I'm glad that they didn't kind of go that route to keep it to kind of what's going on. So they're attempting to fight this thing. Ira's kind of helping out. Gigi tries to get Kinta out of there, but then his sweat turns him into the evil eye, and it's like, I got this shit, bitch. Trying to see what's kind of going on. the kaiju keeps like growing and shit like that. And like, how the fuck do we kind of deal with this fucking thing? And then pretty much get back to Isa's house and decide to utilize the nanoskin. Ginta pretty much turns it into a giant robot, but it's kind of fucked up because it's kind of a weird ass Buddha fucking thing. Mixed with his gunpla because of like what Momo was thinking about. So their first attempts don't really work out very well as they're fighting the kaiju. However, then Ginta pretty much gets control of it and starts like whooping ass before he kind of gets like kind of fucked up. Let's see. So he kind of gets a little bit kind of fucked up a little bit, but not like horrendously or anything. Momo and Ira pretty much taking over and utilizing their powers to pretty much finish off the kaiju, as everybody's like, what the fuck is kind of going on here? As it shrinks down to kind of like normal size. Really a good fight scenes here. Utilizing its powers of electricity horn-wise, different than going complete Godzilla kind of mode. Utilizing its camouflaging technique as well when it's bigger and going after and like kind of like there's a nice ebb and flow as we see our heroes figuring out what's kind of going on with it and utilizing their powers to effectively fuck with this thing. So they pretty much just kind of have to like drag that fucker back, and as well as the house, as they pretty much try and put it back to where it is. But the thing is, they're trying to figure out where the kind of testicle is, and there's like a zipper inside, and then like zip it and there's an alien woman inside. And it's like, okay, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Then we see that Momo comes out of the house as she's holding one of the nanoskin. And we see that the kaiju girl is kissing Okarun. And she just fucking... like, the house explodes because of, like, her mind being blown. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? And that's where we're left off. I think it's a perfect kind of way to pretty much showcase her emotions on the whole kind of issue. Where it's like, yeah, I get that reaction because they've been building up. And then it's like, what the fuck is this kind of curveball? And I can't wait to see what happens next. I liked seeing that Gigi was the main kind of focus on the first part of this, taking up pretty much a majority of it. And I like seeing that he wants to help the Evil Eye. And then seeing that the Evil Eye has been put through a lot of shit and wants to pretty much eradicate humanity. And then seeing how Okarun and the rest of them, mainly Okarun, create their kind of plan to kind of deal with this and see if they can kind of like make a workable situation out of this. Then we, of course, get the bit with Ginta at the end. He's kind of a newer kind of one. We'll have to see how he integrates with the group and where they kind of go from there and what the whole deal is with this girl and where the fuck his testicle is at this point, because they need that too. I liked that Turbo Granny also decided to help out as well, both in regards to the Mongolian death worm kind of shit, as well as training Okarun as well, because she got brought into some crazy ass shit, and now she's kind of stuck in a cat, and a luck cat kind of shit. So she could just tell everybody to fuck off and just be an unrepentant asshole. But she then's like, alright, you got my power, you don't know how to completely utilize it, let me fucking help your ass, you goddamn dick shit. So yeah, it's just, if you liked Season 1, I think you're gonna like Season 2. Expansion of the world, of the characters, what's kind of going on, beautiful animation, good openings and endings, good music and everything. It continues to do what Season 1 did so well. If you didn't like Season 1, you're not going to like this. So, if you're into it like me, you should have a good time. If you don't have a good time, I get that too. Sometimes the thing just doesn't work for you, or you're not in the headspace for it, or you just don't fucking like it. That's cool. I enjoyed this and what they were able to do with the characters. I loved watching it. I loved every minute of it. And I'm like, alright, let's continue this journey. I'm alright for it. Let me know when Season 2 pops up physically so I can have that to my collection. That's what I did with Violet Evergarden because of how I enjoyed that. Going for like the movies as well. I just like the collecting of stuff. I mean, that's why I got into the One Piece kind of stuff as well, because it's like, yes, Straw Hats, motherfucker. Yeah, it continues good action and just like the animation that works out well. World building, lore building, character building. So, yeah, my only negative is like, when are we getting the next one? And that's always a good negative to have for me. Alright, so those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.